Hello and welcome to the video. I am a repair enthusiast and today I would like to talk about some of the mechanical problems of a robotic vacuum cleaner. Like here in front of me there are two Dreame models, but this also applies to, let's say, Roborock or other brands, Xiaomi, etc. I specialize mostly in those that come with these big dock stations that auto clean and auto empty the robots, and we will talk about those problems as well. Now, electrical problems are a bit out of scope of this video since I don't really specialize in those. One thing to start with, at least from the electrical perspective, is that each robot from the factory comes paired with its base station. And I'm not really aware of any way how to alter this. So let's say if you want to have multiple robots at home and you would like them to share a base station, that's unfortunately not possible. As well as, let's say, if you want to have a damage on the base station, let's say in this case this L20 has a mechanical problem with the base station. If you want to swap it for another one, you actually also need to swap the electric board that's inside the base station in order the robot to actually find it later on. Now, to start with the mechanical stuff, basically there are two main systems, both in the robot and in the base station. And that's moving the air and moving the water, since these robots comes with mops and there is also a water tank inside both of the base station and the robot. Now, what these systems have in common is that they are operated by vacuum. So there is usually a pump, or let's say a motor, that generates a vacuum, and then this vacuum, or like this under pressure, is used to move either the air with the dust and the water around from one place to another. Now, the common thing that these systems have, if they need to seal well. So it can happen that there is a seal somewhere that's broken, or there is a connection that's not okay, and this system fails to operate as you would expect. Now, let's start with the air system of the robot. And over here we have, this is an L20 Ultra that has been dismantled. Since I'm performing a repair here, that I'll speak in a bit, like what was wrong with this robot. Now, what is a, let's say, rather easy to figure out or easy to repair thing is that your robot stops vacuuming, right? You have a dust on the ground, the robot doesn't pick it up anymore. And what you probably also notice is that the robot stops making this, suction sound. So if you know what noises your robot usually makes and you notice like a notable difference, there is a high chance that you can actually discover that the motor that is actually responsible for sucking in the dust is actually broken, it doesn't work anymore. Now, to replace it is actually quite simple. The motor is located over here. This is the motor itself. And in this case, on this L20, it's held by a clamp that has 3 screws, like over here. Second one is here, and the third one is here over there. So when you take the robot apart, there are actually good videos online. I'm not going to describe it here. This is L20, but you can follow similar guide for as L10. It's pretty much almost the same. There are some minor differences, but that's nothing difficult to figure out. So you take it apart, take these screws out, take this motor away, replace it. You can get rather cheap replacement from AliExpress. It's usually like 15 euros. So it's not a very big sum of money to get your robot back in shape. So once you do this, this is like an easy fix how to bring your robot back to life in terms of air here. Now, if we talk about the air in terms of base station, what can also occur is that your robot does your work, returns to the station, but it doesn't self-empty. Now, as I said before, like this is a vacuum system, so there is again a motor that is inside the base station. It's a bigger one. It makes quite a lot of noise. So if you stop hearing this noise coming from the base station, then you know that probably the motor inside is not working. But so far I haven't come to the case where this motor would be actually defective, because it usually doesn't spin for very long, so it's, let's say, not used heavily. So this is not usually the part, at least from my experience, that would fail on these vacuum cleaners. As I said again, it's a sealed system, and if the seals fail, you have a problem. So this L20 Ultra actually has a mechanical problem. Now let me unlock the door. As you can see, there is seal over here, this black thing, that's a seal. Basically, if I take out the dust collection, now here behind this there is a motor that basically generates this under pressure, and there is an air that circulates basically from here through your robot to here and out from here, where basically the sachet is. Now, if this door doesn't seal well, there is an air leak that comes through around these seals and will cause the system not to work optimally. Now, the previous designs that we have here, this is L10, this door doesn't have a special mechanism, and it usually works very well. Now, basically this is the seal that I was talking about, that basically seals this chamber so the air is not sucked out through around the door, but it actually circulates through the robot. Now, the problem with this L20 is that this door doesn't fit very well for, to me, unknown reason. Now, if I put it back on, lock it here, you can see that there is something going on here. And when the robot actually enters here and starts self-emptying, and if I put my hand over here, I could actually feel that the air is being sucked through this place. I mean, it kind of works. The robot got emptied, but the efficiency of the system is kind of busted. So I'll be doing a swap to another base station that I have here, but I also, as I said earlier, I need to swap the electronics, because otherwise the robot wouldn't move into this station. So this door is also like important component of the vacuum emptying process, because it seals basically one part of it. So always make sure these doors are properly installed. This L20 Ultra design, I think, is not very good, because as I see here, I never saw this problem on L10. This is basically, and as I saw the newer models, they don't really have this type of door. They switch back, I think, to this style of door because they are much more simple. So I guess this will be like an L20 problem over here. So that was the door. Now, usually you don't really encounter problem. You can check like if these let's say paths for the air are clean enough, but I haven't really met a situation where this would be actually clogged. But depends on like what you have at home and how well you maintain your robot. So make sure these are clean as well and empty. There are also seals on them. There are also silicone seals on both of them, so make sure that these seals are actually okay. They're not torn, they're not missing, etc. Maybe if this seal is missing, you can have an issue there as well. But let's say the most frequent problem that I have with these is, if we go over here, since I don't have is basically the problem that occurs with the waste collection bin. Now, how this works is that you have usually two doors on this base station. One through which the air usually exits, and there is another one, this one. Yeah, this one opens inside, so the air moves inside here, grabs whatever is inside and exit through this door, because this door cannot be opened from this side, they open from the other side. Now, in order for this to work, there is a flap door over here. As you can see, if this flap door is missing, there is a hole here in this vacuum system. So what happened is like it can actually push away what you actually have inside here through this port. Basically, this is the place through which the dust actually gets inside. Now, if this flap door is missing, and I've seen it a lot of times, basically the base station cannot suck out stuff from the robot because there is a leak in the vacuum in form of missing of this door. Like this door would like nicely close, yeah, when the vacuum is being emptied. So this is really cheap fix. You either find this missing door somewhere, like this flap door, maybe it dropped on the floor or something. But the cheapest fix is to just order a new one. This is really cheap. It costs like $6-7, maybe even a bit more, depends on the model. But I think I was fixing this for a Roborock, and the new dustbin was really cheap. So this is the most frequent problem from my experience if the robot is not self-emptying, that this flap door is actually missing. So that would be for the typical, let's say, air system problems. Now let's go for the water problems. Now let's start with the robot again first. And what I'm fixing actually on this one is that this robot is not distributing water on its mop pads. Now, one way how to actually diagnose this problem is, let's say you have, okay, I took them away. Let's go for this one. Let's turn him off. So we'll be manipulating with him. Now what happens is that, let me help myself a bit. There are ports behind these. Through which the water gets dispersed on the ground. Like I can see that one of them is actually over here. This is the place where the water should exit on this mop pad as it spins, and to keep it moistened. Now, in order to, let's say, diagnose if you really have this problem, you basically peel off the mop pad. This one really needs some washing. You peel it off and you just put on the disc, and you put the robot to mop, and at certain intervals the robot should start the pump inside and push out some water. So you should see water droplets on your floor as it goes. Now if you don't, that means like you have a problem. First off, what I want to mention regarding water about this robot is like, don't use unfiltered tap water unless you don't have a hard water in your region. Now as you can see, if I undo it again, this port over here through which the water is really tiny, and if you use hard water in here, you can clog it very easily. So if you have hard water in, or like very mineralized water in your area, please use something like Brita filter to filter your water first before you put it into the tank in your base station, and this will massively improve lifetime of your robot. So to get back to the issue, this robot was not distributing water. Now, how does it work inside? As you can see, this is the back side of the robot where it attaches itself to the base station, and the water into the robot comes through here. Basically, there is a corresponding port in here, so the robot basically sucks itself on this. And how it works is like, it's not the base station that pushes the water inside the robot, at least in this case, but the robot actually uses its own pump to actually get water from the base station into the water tank that is over here. Now if we follow what's going on here, you can see like we have this tube that actually goes from this inlet over here, and the inlet goes into a pump that's over here, and the outlet of the pump goes all the way to the tank. So this is basically the inlet pump. And to distribute the water, basically there is another pump. The pump is located over here. I mean, the tubing goes behind and below the water tank, so I cannot properly show it, but this is the second pump that's in here. So in order to diagnose like which pump is broken, now my problem over here is like this tank is completely dry. There is nothing, not even a single drop of water in this tank. So in my case, I was going after this pump. And when I tested it, it's basically a 5-volt pump. If you follow the connector, you will end up that it's connected to this board over here. And it was this connector. And when I put 5 volts over here through a laboratory power supply, and I unplugged this hose and put it to a small cup with water, and I tried the pump, it wouldn't push any water out of here. So which means like the pump is most probably broken. I mean, it makes noise, but it doesn't do much. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to replace this pump and then check if it will actually push water inside. The tubing seems okay. That's also one thing to check. You need to make sure like the tubing is not blocked anywhere, but I made sure like it's not. Plus I tested the pump, so I know that this pump is actually broken. So if you have water in your tank over here, but you don't have any water coming on the mop pads, then another cause could be either blocked outlets, which are very tiny, so make sure there is nothing blocking them, or this another pump. This is only 3.3 volt pump that's located over here. It most probably failed and you need to replace that one. I mean, these pumps are really cheap. I think this one is like $2 and this is like $5 more or less. You can find them on AliExpress. Just take them out. There is always a description of what it is. Google it, find an AliExpress, order. It's a really cheap repair, although like getting into it a bit more fiddly because there's already like a couple of things that I had to remove here, but it's also only held together by screws and you only need some time and patience to do this. So that was basically the common water problems over here. Let's move to the base station. Now, what you can experience in the base station, like the typical problems are that, at least this was problem for both of these machines actually, is that when the mops are being washed, the dirty water doesn't get sucked out. Now again, this is a vacuum-based system. There is a pump that generates under pressure to move the water around. Now if we go over here, I take this out, we see that there are 2 ports over here. Now how this actually works is like this is connected to the pump that generates under pressure, so it wants to generate low pressure inside this tank, and by doing so it will actually suck the water from below through this hole here and into the tank itself. The system for the clean water is a bit different. There is only 1 port, as you can see, because the vacuum is generated elsewhere, and the clean water tank actually doesn't have to seal like properly. I mean, this seal around here doesn't have to seal perfectly. It's not required because the water is being collected from the below, but we'll get to that a bit later. Also forgot to mention that there are seals, silicone seals over here. So when diagnosing the problem, make sure these are also not cracked, they're fit correctly, that because they also contribute to the proper sealing of the system. If these are bad as well, which I haven't encountered a problem with these so far, but make sure they're clean and in good shape. Now, as I mentioned, it's a vacuum system, so in this case, for the dirty water, this actually has to seal well. And now what was a problem for both of these is the seal on this dirty water tank failed. Now, there is actually an easy way how you can test it if it failed. You pour some water, I don't know, 2-3 centimeters into it. There are two holes in here, over here. So you put two fingers here and you go to your sink, and what you do is you turn it upside down and you're checking if the water is actually leaking from it. If it is, you have a failed seal over here and it needs to be addressed. Now, you have two options how to do it. You can either get one of these new, which is like, I think about $15 to $20. But there is actually a better solution what you can do, and what I did over here as well. Now, the seal over here, what I did is I took a kitchen string that I use in the kitchen and I put it all the way around. I took the seal out, I put the string all the way around, and then I put the seal back. Now what it does, it actually pushes the seal slightly outwards, which basically means the seal will be sticking out a bit more. You will feel that the seal will be a bit more, let's say the lid will be a bit more difficult to close, which is expected. And at the same time, it will start to seal. You put it back into the base station and it started to work. So this was the case for both of these robots, and I resolved it by this exactly same method. Now, I use a bit more thicker string here. It is not actually necessary for it to be thick this much. I'll probably redo this again. I'll show you the other robot where I used a bit thinner one. It was a bit more easier to work with here. Yeah, see, this is an easier string. It seals a bit better. So use a kitchen string that you use for your cooking, like when you're preparing meat, etc. This type of string helped me to fix the vacuum problem regarding the dirty water here in both cases. Also bear in mind that in order to properly maintain the robot, the dirty water suck port is here, so make sure there is nothing blocking it. You can have a debris here, so clean this from time to time. So this hole over here through which actually the dirty water gets sucked out is kept clean and not blocked. Okay, another problem that you can have now with the clean water is that it wouldn't be actually sucked into the base station. Now, the thing is, I have some water here. There is how to say, there's a hose here through which the water gets sucked, and at its end there is actually like a small filter that is held there by like two small clamps. Now let me try to undo it. So this is how it basically looks like. Now, if you have a really mineralized water or you don't filter your water for a robot, this will get clogged. So the first thing to do is you undo the hose over here and put it to some vinegar / citric acid solution and basically try to remove all the lime scale that is blocking the suction here, because this was, at least from my perspective, the most common cause. If you have the error that says like there is not enough water in the clear water tank, this filter is the most probable cause. So just clean it, put it back there, and you should be good to go. Well, Again, if we go back to the water, like keep the tube, make sure the tubes are not blocked, that the filters are okay, and that you have the vacuum system that generates under pressure working. That means if the robot is, or the base station is trying to move the water or suck the water from below to the dirty water tank, you usually hear a pump. If you don't hear the pump, it's usually that the pump is broken. These base stations are actually not so difficult to take apart, at least for this L20. You can remove all the screws that are on the back side. There are also 4 screws on this level going along this edge at the bottom. You remove those. The rear cover comes off and you can easily access the internals of the device, so you can check your pumps, etc., to replace them. I mean, almost everything that is inside the base station can be ordered from AliExpress for relatively low amount of money. So don't hesitate, check it out, order what you need. As they say, you don't own it if you can fix it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you can fix the most problems of, or let's say the most common problems of your vacuum cleaners. Thanks for watching and see you next time.